I suffered like this to send you to school. You now went to go and give somebody belle.
If it's enough for the kids.
Who is she and how far gone?
They say, be careful of what you do at your tender age because surely it will come to play at your later years. Well, join me as I take you through the story of a single mom who selflessly raised her kids with so much resilience after being abandoned by their father. Remember, this is Nollywood Recap and this is just a recap review and not a substitute to original. Always catch up on Netflix. Sit back, relax and do like and subscribe. Spoilers ahead. Just a reminder, the movie revolves around the present day and their past days. So follow the story so you don't miss out. The movie begins with a flashback of 19-year-old Fola and 17-year-old Sista. Alright, this is a young love stuff, or should I say a young and dumb kind of story that's going on between these two. Not until young Sista tells young Fola that she's pregnant. Like I said before, the movie drifts from the past to the present at intervals so we can see everything that happened in the space of the past before the present. In the present day, Sista is a cleaner who likes to make sure she does honest work, even at the expense of always having their clients do inventory just to make sure no one accuses her of missing stuffs in their house or offices. She has a friend, Jamina or James, who helps her link up with big clients so she can help them clean their houses. Sista is also taking care of her two children, Fola and Anu, presently, and after her work that day, her son Fola returns soon because his school has gone on strike again. You all know it's ASU. Back in the past, the different families of young Fola and Sista disowns them because they can't afford to take care of the unborn child and them too. So young Sista, however, suggests that night that she would live with him at campus while she finds a means to look for work. Back at the present day, Sista continues her job as a cleaner and often returns home tired and late. However, her children is there to give her a massage. Back at the past, young Sista has already begun a small food business at Fola's campus, and by that time, they are able to at least sustain themselves with the food they sell, especially Indomie. Shola pulls her close and thanks her for everything she's been doing for him, seeing that she stopped her own education so he can continue. Back to the present, Sista's students show concern and tries to give her a reason why she should allow them come and assist her in her cleaning work, but she politely refuses with love.
Stay at home. Let me go and walk the walk. All this wahala I'm doing is for you children to have a better life.
One fateful day, one of the clients whom James linked her up with came to her house to accuse her of her missing gold. A few minutes later, it turns out that Sista didn't take anything after embarrassing her, of which she gets very upset. Back to the past, young Sista comes back from the hospital one day and informs young Fola that she's pregnant again, just while their son is still 2 years old. At this point, I don't know how to put this though, but I must say, young Fola is definitely not having it.
Touch this boy, you carry belly easily like that. How?
Back to the present day, James uses food to apologize to Sista for the way the client she introduced to her embarrassed her in her house in the front of her children. That same day at home, her son Fola suggests he goes back to school and pick up a job on teaching carryover students so he can at least earn some money to support his mom. As you all know, as usual, she refused, saying she's a strong woman and she can fend to take care of them. James' cousin Tiwatope returns from the UK to pay her surprise visit to her office and they chat for a while. Back to the past, it's time for young Folari to go to NYC because he just graduated and young Sista gives him small money to cater for himself over there, but he declines. And we see on the present day, James does what she knows how to do best again by linking Sista to her cousin so she can clean for them in the new building they are planning to move into. Sista cleans it perfectly so she can establish a long-time cleaning job with James' cousin, Tiwatope. When she finishes, the women comes in after giving Sista some compliment. Tiwatope's husband walks into the compound. At this point, I would say fate never lies. It turns out that the husband of Tiwatope is Folaren, who Sista used to know when they were young and even had a baby. Sista ends up going back home, and even though she handled the shock from recognizing him well at their house, she couldn't stop thinking about him that night. Back to the past, young Sista receives a text from young Fola that he had arrived and came safely and he left a letter for her. She goes through the letter only to realize that he has run away and won't be returning anymore. As if that wasn't enough, another bad news comes in that the task force has demolished her shop. I must say, this is another tough beginning for her after this happened. Back to the present day, Sista wakes up early crying and trying to ask God to give her strength to handle the situation of Fola showing up again in their life. Her son makes her cheerful for the moment anyway, although she didn't tell him why she's crying. That evening, James calls Sista to ask her if she's free to serve at the party of Fola and his wife, Tiwatope, who will be throwing the party, and Anu, her daughter, convinces her that they should go to serve the party and make some money as far as they will join her. At the party, Folari just stares at Sista because he thinks he knows her from somewhere, and Sista, on the other hand, acts like she doesn't know him. After all, she lied to her kids and even James that her husband died 10 years ago. Fola ends up calling her by her real name, Vicky, and she gets speechless. They both know the tension between them, so Sista makes to leave early in a taxi and have no one to carry them and her children back to her house, especially not Fola offering to drop them at their house. At night, Fola couldn't sleep because she kept on thinking about Sista, the woman whom he abandoned 12 years ago. The next morning, he confesses to his wife about everything, how he left his family and unborn kids and blamed it on him being young. Tiwatope gets angry, but in her anger, she handles it well and tells James about it. Her and her cousin visit Sista the next day to seek the forgiveness on Fola's behalf, but Sista pours out her heart to them by telling them how devastating it was for her after Folarin left her while she was 8 months pregnant of their daughter, Anu.
He left me with 8 months pregnant. He didn't even tell me anything the night before he leave. Amy, I leave school so he can further.
Some days later, after church that day, Fola visits Sista on his son's invitation, and after hesitating, she manages to let him in. The conversation only ends well for the kids, but not for her because she can't even bear the pain of what he has caused them in the past, talk less of having him back into their lives. Days later, Folari begins to take the kids for shopping and outings like a father figure, but none of this seems to sway Sista away from the pain she carried towards him. He continues to shower them with gifts anyway and even goes as far as getting Fola a car, but Sista refuses it on their behalf and against their will, obviously. One day, Anu comes in with the good news that their dad wants to take them abroad to study, and so she will be preparing for a few exams. Meanwhile, she has just gotten an admission in the country and Sista is not having it at all. To her, this man pops up into her life from nowhere after she single-handedly raised her kids, and now he wants to steal them away because he has money. She goes straight to his house and wants him to leave her and the children and stop giving them gifts. Folari tries to make her know that he's also a father to them and has a right in their affairs too.
I'm not trying to take the children away. I'm trying to be their father.
Then be their dad from here.
And she switches to a Terminator mode. I must say, thank God she does not unleash it to him anyway, because I don't blame her getting this angry. When Sista gets back from the war that night, her children still insist in letting their dad lift up the burden a little bit from their mother, and it seems like they have forgotten all the sacrifices she made for them. Sista, however, agrees to their opinion but decides to stay away from them and let them go be with their father or whatever. Fola meets his father some days after. It's crazy how Sista gave both of their children the names of their fathers, right? Wouldn't that make her think of him the more all these years? Anyway, Fola tells him that their mom doesn't respond to their talk anymore. She only wakes up and goes to work and then returns late at night. The next day, Tiwatope pours out her own heart because Folarin seems to think everything is okay with her and that she easily forgives him. She reminds him of the kids they have abroad and how they were going to break the news to them that they actually have a sibling here in Nigeria. That night, Folari apologizes properly to his wife and heeds her advice to be a proper dad to Sista's kids and not just showing off that he could be a father. And that means getting to know the kids, but he also tells her that he cannot do without her. Eventually, she forgives him and chooses to stand by him. The next day, James, on the other hand, convinces Sista to respond to their children and hear what they have to say because they miss her. At their house, she tells them not to see her as a bad person just because she's trying to be away from the man who abandoned them. Folana also admits that they were carried away and that they haven't forgotten all the love and care she has given to them, so they reunite again. The next day, Fola comes to their house with his wife for moral support this time. Inside, he pleads and admits everything he's done to her and seeks for a chance to help her give the children the life he knows she wants for them. She was caught up in emotion but agrees only for the well-being of her children. It's here we also get to know that Sista trained Fola through school by selling noodles in his campus that year.
So even if it's not for the kids, allow me to show my appreciation for putting me through school.
What a woman, guys. I barely think such women still exist today. She forgives him and in a few years, he arranged for them to leave the country with him and everyone eventually ends up happy at last. I must say, what do you think about this movie? I would say Kehinde Bankole, who played the role of Sista, is actually a very good actor because she ate the role like Amala. Everyone also contributed in bringing life to the story and I really love the film. Tell us what you think about this movie. Drop your comments and don't forget to like and subscribe. Till next time. Bye for now.